Hey, what's up? This is Chris from Hacker Philosophy Weekly, and we're going to be taking a look at a video from Seneca, letter number 3 on true and false friendship. From this letter, I can see different ways to maybe apply this to the red or the blue team. If you like this kind of video, definitely make sure to subscribe. So one thing I always try to do, especially with partnerships and friendships, as a red teamer or somebody on a threat team, I try not to hide anything. Seneca, he's talking about his friend Lucilius, and he's saying, hey, I've gotten a letter that's saying there's certain topics that maybe I don't want you to talk about. And then from a moral and philosophical standpoint, bringing together a cybersecurity team for red and blue, you have to make sure that as red teamers, we lie enough on our job anyway. Why lie to other people and kind of break down those partnerships?
In other words, you have in the same letter affirmed and denied that he is your friend. Now, if you use this word of ours in the popular sense and call him friend in the same way in which we speak of all candidates for election as honourable gentlemen, and as we greet all men whom we meet casually, if their names slip us for the moment, with the salutation, my dear sir, so be it. But if you consider any man a friend whom you do not trust as you trust yourself, you are mightily mistaken.
Yeah, so I think Seneca's really trying to drive home. You shouldn't call people friends if they're not your friends. Shouldn't say, hey, the blue team and I and the red team have a strong partnership, because if they don't, it's going to come off as superficial and may actually damage relationships that are trying to be built. Early in my career, I was like, hey, yeah, we're all good friends. The red team is here to help. But really, I hadn't taken the time to establish those relationships yet. Now, as somebody that's been in the field for a little bit longer, I can see those coming off as superficial and actually harming relationships. So, key thing I'm seeing on in this letter so far is just be honest and be truthful.
And you do not sufficiently understand what true friendship means. Indeed, I would have you discuss everything with a friend. But first of all, discuss the man himself. When friendship is settled, you must trust. Before friendship is formed, you must pass judgment.
When friendship is settled, you must trust. Before friendship is formed, you must pass judgment. One of the things about Stoicism is you're not really supposed to judge. You're just taking data and just say, this is the way it is. This tree is alive and has leaves on it. Not this tree is thriving or this tree bears the kind of good fruit that I like. It's all about facts, right? And if you're not somebody's friend, that doesn't mean that you are their enemy either. Just because the red and blue teams may not have a great partnership doesn't mean that they're adversaries. Previous quote, if you consider any man a friend whom you do not trust as you trust yourself, first build that trust in yourself before you try to go build partnerships with other people. On a red team or a blue team, that can mean knowing exactly what it is you bring to the team and how your skills help everyone. Trust yourself. Trust what it is that you do and what you accomplish. The last part of that quote is, you are mightily mistaken if you do not sufficiently understand what true friendship means. I think true friendship is really just partnerships, right? Two people aligned to share a common goal. They have each other's best interests at heart. That can take a long time to form those partnerships among cybersecurity teams.
Those persons indeed put last first and confound their duties, who, violating the rules of Theophrastus, judge a man after they have made him their friend, instead of making him their friend after they have judged him.
Seneca was saying was that people will make somebody their friend first and then judge them, as opposed to saying, let me see what kind of person you are and then decide if we can be friends. And that's, from a moral and philosophical standpoint, that's making sure that you are protecting yourself, right? Like, you don't want to surround yourself with people that are going to harm you or lead you down the wrong path if you're still trying to build that foundation of this is a good moral character. Especially red teams, we typically come off as the adversary. People will judge us first and say, oh, here comes the red team. They're always going to have these problems, right? Like, here comes the red team again. They're making these problems again. It's okay to have the uphill battle, as long as at the end of the day, as somebody that's leading the red team or on a red team, you understand what your purpose is at the company, how you achieve that purpose, what it brings. So you have trust in yourself and the team, and then also who can mutually align with the goals of a red team and help you to help each other out. Like, how can you become true friends? How can two teams become two friends?
Ponder for a long time whether you shall admit a given person to your friendship. But when you have decided to admit him, welcome him with all your heart and soul. Speak as boldly with him as with yourself.
Ponder for a long time whether you shall admit a given person to your friendship, right? And Seneca was saying, if you bring somebody into your trust, then obviously I've already vetted them, I've already judged them. I know that our characters align and that our goals align and that we will get along. And because I've done that mutual trust ahead of time, I can now open myself up and be honest and not have to play games with the person, so that we can just cut straight to what needs to be done and not really mess around. And I've personally have been involved in some projects where just 2 to 3 people that are being very honest with each other and having each other's interests at heart has moved a project forward by years. You don't have to be friends with everyone. I don't have to be a partner with all the different cyber teams, that I come into contact with, but I do need at least a couple. They need to be partners with me too.
You trust your own self with nothing which you could not entrust even to your enemy. Yet, since certain matters occur which convention keeps secret, you should share with a friend at least all your worries and reflections. Regard him as loyal, and you will make him loyal. Some, for example, fearing to be deceived, have taught men to deceive. By their suspicions, they have given their friend the right to do wrong.
So I've actually seen this a little bit too, right? Like it's all about the company that a person keeps. If you surround yourself with people that are going to be your true friends, like Seneca's talking about, your life will move forward in a generally positive direction. If you surround yourself with people that are going to constantly talk about how bad things are, well, guess what? That's going to affect you too. So if I only have a certain amount of time per day to spend with anyone, why wouldn't I spend it with my friends, right? Like, why wouldn't I spend it with people that are going to help me accomplish my goals and I can help them accomplish their goals? What if I spent that time with somebody that's going to consistently talk about how wrong everything is? I only got so much time per day. Why wouldn't I spend it with the people that matter the most in that given situation?
Why need I keep back any words in the presence of my friend? Why should I not regard myself as alone when in his company? There is a class of men who communicate to anyone whom they meet matters which should be revealed to friends alone, and unload upon the chance listener whatever irks others.
So Seneca's really talking about there are people that you will meet that love to gossip. It should not be spoken to anybody but those people which are friends that have been vetted and trusted and that have your best interest at heart, right? So from a strategic perspective, as a red teamer or a hacker or a threat hunter, it's good for us to encounter and cultivate those kinds of relationships. Even though we know we're not going to be friends the way that Seneca is talking about being friends with those people, we can engage with them and gather all kinds of interesting facts, right? Like I'm doing research right now on the OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, and act. And from an OODA loop perspective, you want to engage with these people that love gossip because they will overshoot and they will set themselves up to be taken advantage of. And as a red team, we exploit mistakes, and as threat hunters, we exploit the mistakes of the adversary. So it's important to know that if you do come into contact with people that like to gossip, they probably are not going to be your friend in the way that Seneca is saying that they can be your friend, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't talk to them either, especially if you're in a field like ours where you want those secrets.
Again, fear to confide in their closest intimate, and if it were possible, they would not trust even themselves, burying their secrets deep in their heart. But we should do neither. It is equally faulty to trust everyone and to trust no one. Yet the former fault is, I should say, the more ingenuous, the latter the more safe. In like manner, you should rebuke these two kinds of men, both those who always lack repose and those who are always in repose.
People that give their trust out willingly to those that have not earned it. You yourself should not associate with those people, and likewise, you shouldn't associate with people that trust absolutely nobody. If a person has trust in themselves, they will naturally be able to trust other people. They don't trust other people because they don't trust themselves, and they have no foundation or baseline for which to ascertain if somebody's being real with them or not, right? So Seneca's not saying don't interact with those people. He's saying of those two ends of the spectrum, your friends, the way that he's describing it to Achilles, probably will not be one of those. Either ends.
For love of bustle is not industry, it is only the restlessness of a hunted mind, and true repose does not consist in condemning all motion as merely vexation. That kind of repose is slackness and inertia. Therefore, you should note the following saying, taken from my reading in Pomponius. Some men shrink into dark corners to such a degree that they see darkly by day.
A mind without purpose will walk in dark places. And that's pretty much what Seneca's saying, is that those that only see bad in their mind will eventually see bad everywhere in the real world. And that's true, because our minds cannot differentiate between what's in here and what's in the real world. To the mind, it views all that data as the same type. So if we fill our brains with nothing but the blue team's out to get me, nobody likes me, I'm not valuable on the team, we will start to see that in reality. And if the goal of a red team or a blue team is to build partnership, how can we build partnerships if we constantly think everyone is out to get us, especially if we're out to get ourselves?
No, men should combine these tendencies, and he who reposes should act, and he who acts should take repose. Discuss the problem with nature. She will tell you that she has created both day and night.
Yeah, and that's a good facet for Stoicism too. Is talk with nature. Nature's created both day and night. We can have friends that are really good. That could be the daylight, and we could have and be interacting with people that are not the best for us. Now, if we only interact that are good for us, quote unquote, good for us, we're only going to see one point of view. So it is important that we do interact with those other ends of the spectrum, but just so long as we know what the real relationship is, right? It's not to give our friendship willingly to be a true friend to just any, but only to those that have earned it, because the result of true friendship is and partnership is open, honest communication and just being able to fix problems. That's been my experience with the red and the blue team, is just be honest as much as we can, and eventually the relationships will take off. Sometimes they don't take off with everyone, but they do take off enough. Things can happen. Things can be good. Well, thank you for listening to this discourse on Seneca letter number 3, on true and false friendship and how it was applied to cybersecurity and red and blue teams. This is something you like, definitely give a thumbs up and subscribe as I bounce back and forth between philosophy, pure philosophy articles and content like this, and some of the other more technical focused articles and content that have a philosophical spin on them.